This is our street. This is Canalside. It's just, well, it's a magical place for a lot of us. We've got families with young children. We've got pensioners, people that have seen the war. Mick, he's 83. But we've got one thing in common. We absolutely love living here. So this is the British Legion that stands at the top of the street and the old blockhouse. I'm just going to show you what the problem is. So we've got the canal in front of the cottages, as you've just seen. And at the top of the street, we've got two rivers that converge. The River Neath and the Dillais. And they both meet at this aqueduct. Now, I use the term aqueduct very loosely because, as you can see, the damage that was caused to it in firstly Storm Callum and then Storm Dennis. So the aqueduct and these lock gates that come in, I mean, originally the canal boats would have come across the aqueduct from the basin and across into the canal, and it's really sad that wasn't maintained, but sadly it wasn't. So yeah, so this is where it all comes through at the side of the Legion. So as I say, it wasn't maintained and it's fell into such a state of disrepair. There is a preservation order that was put on the aqueduct by Cadw, who basically they protect monuments, stone circles, castles, hill forts, all sorts of things that they consider to have historical significance. And I completely agree with that. But you have to start asking yourself that if a monument becomes a risk to life, should it still be preserved? So I'm going to take you round now and show you the other side of the aqueduct and some of the damage that happened after our last storm. So this is the underpass that runs under the road at the side of the river. Can you see how low that is down there? Well, on the night of the floods, I'll put some extra footage on later, the river actually breached this wall and it came over like a tsunami. It was horrendous, and it went all the way down, back up there to the Legion and the aqueduct, and down the street, flooding our houses with sewage and river water, and we lost everything. So here I am, just climbed over the wall to get down by the river. So just behind me we've got Aberdeen Falls, which is absolutely beautiful. But if you can see under the bridge there, if we zoom in a little bit, you can see that their bridges are still blocked from the flood by huge hardwood trees that had washed down the valley. Now, we recently were on ITV News with Michael Sheen, who's absolutely amazing, and he's supported us since the flood, and he's used his platform to get our voices heard. So we were all in this river clearing the stones. You can find, if you search on YouTube for Canalside, you can find the ITV footage. But basically, Natural Resources Wales were shamed into promising us that they would come and clear this river, and they promised us they were going to move 800 tonnes of debris that had been washed down. So the debris was going to be removed from that bridge. Can you see that there? All the way down here. Now this is a weir that also needs repairing, which, because of the state it's in at the moment, that contributes to the floods. These are the sluices. So when the river is in full flow and this weir is in full repair, That causes the water that's coming down to come across here and go through those sluice gates into our canal to feed the canal and to keep the flow of the water moving. However, as you can see, this is half of the weir and this is where it ends. So this is the two rivers converging. And the weir ends there. It's supposed to go across and meet that wall over there. And basically that sort of controls the flow of the water down and through the aqueduct, which is there in front of us. So here I am standing on the riverbed, which is quite low at the moment, in front of the aqueduct. And as I said, we've had Storm Callum, that was in October 2018, and then Storm Dennis, which is in February this year. It's quite sunny and I'm wondering if you can actually see the damage that was done. But look at that stone there, how big that is. That is a massive, that's got to weigh a ton. Now, that damage goes all the way along this ancient monument. Now, forgive my ignorance, but I was under the impression that if, you know, something's an ancient monument, so for instance, Stonehenge is an ancient monument, that not only would it be protected, I thought it would be preserved, and if there was all this damage done, shouldn't it be fixed or at least made safe? Or if there was some scaffolding or something put around it, because I was hoping today the river was as it usually is, because kids will be kids, and there's usually kids down here. It's a hot day and they're swimming and playing in the river as kids do. But in reality, can you imagine one of your kids over here and that massive piece of, well, stone fell off? It wouldn't injure them, it would kill them, and that's the reality. So that's just one problem. All of the things that could be done, flood walls, any type of flood defences. You can see over there, that's my husband Jeff, my neighbour Stuart, and another neighbour Steve, and they're up there looking at possible ways that we could build a flood wall or an embankment across the top of that footpath, because that's where the water comes over. Now, I've just walked a little bit further up so you can see. You know, I really need you to see how badly damaged this is. So, you may wonder why we are all out here on a Sunday afternoon in August worrying about floods. Well, I shall tell you. Friday we had a massive meeting. We formed a residents group in Canalside because basically Canalside has been like a hot potato. So when we're reporting things to National Resources Wales, Neath Talbot Council, Mr. Steve Phillips, it's not our fault. It's National Resources Wales. National Resources Wales say, oh, well, that's the council. Leaders Canal tenant company. To be fair, their hands are slightly tied because everything they want to do has been stopped by, yes, you've guessed it, the council and National Resources Wales. So we called a meeting, we got all the agencies together and all the residents were there. And do you know what? I don't think I'm a naive person, but I felt quietly confident. Michael Sheen, as I say, has supported us throughout, you know, the last 2 years. He's been amazing. And he was there. And again, he spoke up for us. You know, this guy, I know he's famous. He's an actor. But he's a Welshman who's from the next valley. And he really does give a shit. And he's doing his best to support us and to give us that platform to be heard. So basically we're all at this meeting and Mr. Phillips comes out with a, well, perhaps compulsory purchase and pulls the figure of £80,000 out of his arse. Sorry for my language, but I'm getting a bit fed up with this crap now. So that was a bit of a curveball. We weren't expecting that. But to cut a long story short, he can't offer 80,000. That was just him being him. And even if he did, I wouldn't take it. If he offered me 100,000, 150,000, he could shove it. Because why does it have to come down to money? Why? Because the flood defences, hiring the wall, fixing the weir, opening those sluice gates, fixing that aqueduct, which, you know, to be fair now, can you see those arches, by the way? I forgot to say, you used to be able to stand under those, an adult, put your arms up and you couldn't touch the top. You can't do that anymore. And that's because of all this crap, all this rubble that's getting constantly washed down. It blocks up the aqueduct, and the aqueduct is fast becoming a dam. So back to why I'm here. We had this this meeting, and we're basically saying, help us, stop talking, take action, do something. Just anything is better than nothing. And basically they talked about reports and models, and one agency talking to another agency, but the outcome of it could possibly take another 4 years. Now, if they'd have started doing something at the end of Storm Callum in 2018 in October to where we are now, we'd be halfway through that 4 years, but no, we're starting from now. Well, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. There may be a few people in the street that think compulsory purchase is a good idea, but they've got to have a majority vote, and I respect other people's decisions. Everyone's in a different position. You know, we've got people, as I say, we've got Mickey's 83, we've got Jude and Paul, who are really good friends of mine. They're amazing. They're both unwell, and they've been through 3 or 4 floods. My question is, yes, it may cost you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times as much to spend on flood defences to fix the things that need fixing than it would to buy our homes. But aren't our lives, our street, our community, aren't they more important, Mr. Phillips? I would say so. So, this is just a short video on my phone. I've sent off for a video camera. The gloves are off. I'm going to make a documentary and I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to try and get somebody in the television industry to tell our story, because there's a financial reason here. You know, I honestly believe Neath Botanical Council, National Resources Wales are in each other's pockets. I hoped that if they saw us together as a community, that they would see that behind every door in Canalside there is a different story. I love Canalside, and I don't say that lightly. This, where am I going to get this? Give me, you know, I've got mortgages. I'd probably come out of that 80 grand shit offer with about 20 grand. I don't want to live on an estate. No offence to anybody that does live on an estate, but I love this. I love being on the doorstep of the rivers. I love being able to walk in the country. I love it that if I need anything, I can knock on a neighbour's door. That we are a tribe. We are Canalside. So, I don't know what my next move is going to be apart from the documentary, but I thought I'd show you a little bit of what we're fighting for. I should also add, can you see those black pipes over there coming over the wall? You can probably hear them, yeah? Well, they are pumps, they are water pumps. And basically they are pumping water out of the river into the canal. They cost £5,000 a week. Now the reason for that is there is a power station down at Bagland Bay and they need the water. So they pay the £5,000, and I think I was quoted £1,000 a week also for diesel to run these pumps to keep the canal flowing. Now when they turn those pumps off, the canal dries up and it goes stagnant, and you know, our houses are on the canal bank, so that's just horrendous. But there's their pumps. There are the sluice gates. Now the sluice gates feed the canal. They don't cost £5,000 a month, and we don't have to put diesel in them. But the reason they don't work, again, is because of that weir. So fix the weir. How many you know, £5,000 a week if they've been there for about 4 years. Do the math. Surely there was more than enough money there to fix that weir. So, again, it's money. So we, Canalside residents, are going to fight. And we don't give up that easily, Mr. Phillips. Jeff, so we've talked about preventative measures, and you know, there are a lot of things that could have been done. I've just talked about the fact that, you know, if the weir were reinstated, that the sluice gates would be opened and it would feed the canal. But what would we need to stop the flood coming across and into the street?
We need to make a barrier from A to B.
Right, from there
A
across
to B.
to there. So how long is this barrier?
It's more like the 30 foot.
How long is it, Stuart?
About 30 foot.
Right, okay. And how much, cost-wise, do you think that would cost?
If we do it ourselves, £200.
£200. So each house that was damaged in the flood that did have insurance, and there wasn't a lot of people that actually did have insurance, 20, 30, 40,000 pounds worth of damage. So basically you're telling me for £200-300 perhaps that could be avoided.
Well, it would seal this section, and then that needs raising by a foot.
Yep.
Which would be about £1,500 in materials plus any labour.
Yeah. So
as a temporary measure.
As a temporary measure. So we're thinking, as a community, if we can't get people to help us, we're going to have to do this ourselves.
We'll do some crowdfunding to fund it.
Crowdfunding, or we'll throw money in the pot ourselves, because we are protecting our homes. Yeah.
Because the council have more or less put the white flag out and gone up to the bye-bye.
Yeah, they have. So
they've done a church up.
So as you can see, you know, everyone's quite passionate, and wouldn't you be? Look at this area. This is my paradise, and we are going to protect it. So this is one of my neighbours. This is Maeve.
Hey.
What is Canalside to us as a community?
A beautiful neighbourhood, dog friendly.
Yeah.
We're like one big family.
We look after it and we want it fixed. We want to save it, don't we?
Sorted ASAP.
Thank you, darling. As you can see, as Maeve just said, it's a beautiful street. It's our street, it's our home. Each door, each family has a different story. Why wouldn't we want to protect this? Do you know what? Steve Phillips, Neath Council, Environment Wales, I don't know where you live, but you haven't got what we've got, and it's worth fighting for. I'm going to walk you down the street now and show you some of the damage that was done. So this is Canalside. Yeah, it's August and the sun's shining. But you know what? It's Wales. And it rains a lot of the time. But that doesn't matter. This is the chapel that was converted. I mean, look at the work that has gone into that absolutely beautiful building. There's 2 families in there. It's absolutely gorgeous. And these are some of the cottages. You know, we've got Rachel at number 2 with 2 little girls. Gemma used to live at number 3. She's had to move out. You know, she's pregnant. She's got 2 kids. She was evacuated in a dinghy by the fire brigade on the night of the flood. Peter, how do you feel about living in Canalside?
How do you think?
Do you love living here? Do you want to move?
Oh,
No.
move in with you, but
But we're a community, Peter, aren't we?
I love
You know.
it, yeah.
See, Peter can sit outside, have a drink. Look at the view he's got. If we,
It's not a lot to see, but
yeah, but we look after each other, isn't it?
only water and reeds and
Yeah,
a couple of ducks.
but it's important to
Only
us.
one geese left,
One duck.
one duck left. They've had the fox about all.
Yeah,
Crazy.
but it's a beautiful place, Peter.
Huh?
It's a beautiful place and we're going to save it. Thank you, love. This is our Welsh flag. This is the sanctuary. Quite a special place, really. So just up there, the house that we've walked past, that was Lee's house. And last year, Lee's partner Darren, he sadly died. But he was a huge part of Canalside. You know, some people would say Darren was Canalside. So this little sanctuary here, at one point Darren had as an animal sanctuary, and we had a sheep called Ashley. When I moved in, it was hysterical really, because we'd shout him and he'd come and run down the street. Pig called Pumba, a little miniature horse. You know, we've all got dogs, cats. There's another reason, isn't it? You know, there are a lot of memories here. This blue house, this house belongs to Lee and Darren, and until just after the last flood in February, this is where a good friend and neighbour, Vicky, died, and Evan and baby lived in this house. To say they were good neighbours is a bit of an understatement. I love that bones of Vicky and Di, they're fabulous. But you know, they can't come back. Vicky's got post-traumatic stress. The kids had been wet in the bed. Twice they had to carry the kids out of that house and put them in life rafts. If you can see the windows, I mean that's my house next door, but one next to the yellow house. So the water had actually come over these garden walls, and you can see the state of the road. The fire brigade couldn't get down for over an hour. Vicky's dog, when she got downstairs into 3 foot of water, had almost drowned. He was floating around the kitchen on a bed. And Vicky moved into that house because Lee and Darren owned it, and Darren was Vicky's best friend. Well, he was more like a brother. They were like a double act. And I shall add some photographs and some Snapchats of those two together because they were hysterical. They absolutely adored each other. So for Vicky to have to leave this house and all the memories of Darren, I can only imagine how terrible that would be. But you know, she's still part of our tribe. She's still fighting. She was at the meeting. She's going to help me next week when we start to do a little documentary series, because that's what's planned. And yeah, so as I say, that's just one story behind that one door. See this handsome chap at the gate of this beautiful cottage? This is my hubby Jeff. This is our cottage. This is Crow Cottage, and we love it. The work that has gone into this cottage, it's just been hard graft. We've not paid builders or got people in. Jeff's a bit of a jack of all trades, aren't you, love? So he's built the kitchen extension. You know, we've had new windows put in. It's not posh, is it? It's just a little tiny cottage on a canal bank. You know, I can imagine that lots of people wouldn't want to live here, but we do. So, but not only that, not only did Jeff defend, rebuild, and do everything that he's done with this cottage twice, I'm now going to show you something else. First of all, I've got to show you the geese. Look, ridiculous as it is, I even worry about the geese. So these geese, well, back to Darren again. They were part of Darren and Lee's sanctuary, and they live on the canal bank, and yeah, they're sort of the street geese now. We all love them, so every day we all feed them, and you knock on the door. If you leave your door open, they're in the house. And this handsome fellow here, this is Frank. So last year in one of the storms, he was flying over, as they do, in a big V formation, and I think he became disorientated, and he landed here in Canalside. So we thought, he's a bit like the ugly duckling, isn't he, because all the geese are white and Frank is brown. But do you know what? It took a while. We fed him, and all the other geese they accepted him, and you know, we've had quite a few ducks, but as Peter said, the foxes had a few of them recently, which is quite sad. But yeah, this is outside every day. This is my normal. So now this is what else I was going to show you. Can't go in because there's someone in there. But this greenhouse here, this is the retreat. Does it look just like all the other cottages? Yeah, I suppose it does. But I had a dream. I work as a soul midwife, which is which basically I work with people at end of life. I help them to make plans. I do therapies and treatments, counselling, and I do that within their own homes and in the hospices. And that's a service that I provide for free, and that's my way of paying something forward and giving something back in this life. Everyone's got a reason, haven't they? And that's mine. So my dream was, here's Stuart, who also, as you can see, loves the geese. So my dream was, the thing I heard the most from people was, if you're having chemotherapy or, you know, anything else that's life-changing really, isn't it? And scary and frightening. People wanted somewhere that they could just go for a breakaway. See that door? That's it. So we live at number 20. Number 28 came for sale, and I thought, do you know what, if I bought that, and it can be my house, but I can also use it as a retreat, and the people that I work with, they can come and stay for breaks, holidays, therapies, counselling, whatever they need, and it's going to be free. Because when you've got cancer or an end-of-life diagnosis, you've got enough to worry about without worrying about money. And you know what? Everyone said to me, you can't do that. That's not going to work. How are you going to do that for nothing? And I thought, well, do you know what? If I'm meant to do it, I'm going to put it out there to the universe, and there will be a way. Because if nothing else, I am an eternal optimist. Glass half full kind of girl. So, nearly 3 years ago, I bought the house. Didn't even think I could get a mortgage, but hey ho. And Raven's Retreat was born. So I'll just bring you inside my house at the minute. This is number 20. This is where I am with Jeff. Come on, Maeve. As you can see, we still, you know, we've put a few carpet tiles down. I'm a bit worried as to do anything else, just in case we're flooded again. So yeah, as I was saying, so people come to the retreat and they stay, and it's free. And I'm glad I don't listen to many people. A bit of a rebel. You know, tell me I can't do something, I'll do it twice and take photographs. So people come and stay. I've had people from the north of England. I've had a lady from Scotland. All over. And the work as a soul midwife continues. And that's besides having a full-time job. So I also do funerals, arrange funerals. A funeral plan, you know, when someone knows that they're terminal and they've got plans that they need to make. It's really difficult sometimes to make those plans with your nearest and dearest, because there are things that sometimes your close family don't want to hear. So that's part of the service as well. And how can I describe it? I get to have the most absolutely amazing friends, sometimes for the shortest time. But it's about making a difference, isn't it? And it's about it's not just a service, that's the wrong word. It's the last thing that you can do for someone. So in my opinion, it's got to be done right, and it's got to be done exactly the way that that person wants it to be done. So yeah, so that's why I do what I do. You know, and they can sort of tell me, and we write the funerals, and then afterwards I perform the ceremonies, graveside or at the crematorium, and any instructions that are left for the family after the funeral, I do them as well afterwards. So yeah, so that's a little bit about the retreat. So not only have we got the retreat, at the back of the retreat we spent the last of our savings on a therapy cabin, so that people who were there could come and have free Reiki treatments. I'm a hypnotherapist, so they can have hypnotherapy, reflexology, counselling, psychotherapy, and we also provide counselling and psychotherapy, talking therapies for army veterans, not just army, you know, whatever service that you've been in, because that's another thing that's really close to my heart. I've worked for years for the NHS in mental health, so mental health is huge. So yeah, so therapies and treatments, if we can provide it, it's there. So I'll take you down to the retreat, to the cabin, and you can have a look. Right, I'm just going to take you out to the cabin. Jeff, what are you doing?
Making flood defences.
What flood defences?
For the sewers.
Right, so why are we making flood defences for the sewers?
Because there's nothing actually out there making something which is easy to fit, easy to do.
And it will stop the sewage coming up.
Yeah, and anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it. So the point is, again, we're not getting help from anywhere. So, you know, Jeff is a jack of all trades. He's absolutely bloody amazing. Stuart next door, absolutely amazing. John, Steve, Leslie, Paul, we're all helping each other. We've all got a talent, or we've all got something that we can do. Yeah, so basically we've all got something we can do, so we're helping each other. And isn't that what a community is about? So, you know, Jeff can make these things, I don't know what they're called. What did he just say? Anyway, it's something to do that goes on the drains, because not only did we flood, we had sewage come up the back, and it came up like a really horror film chocolate fountain through the toilets and the baths, and we were up to our knees in other people's sewage. Pay Welsh Water to take your sewage away, and they gave it me back in bucketfuls. Anyway, I'm just on my way down, but look at this. This is out the back of the cottage. Used to be an old disused entry, and I wanted a garden. So Jeff, see what I mean? He's put me a swing up there. We had an old bath, piece of tree. So he put it up there, made it into a seat so I can sit in there and read. And look at that. That is, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that's cling film. You'd be right. That's a cling film greenhouse. But you know what? It works. So yes, we've got fruit trees. This is the back of the cottages. So if you can look over the top of the cottages, you can see the mountain. That's Craig Gladys. Do you know what? I get up every day, and truly I'm thankful for this place, the Canalside. So yeah, back on track and back down to the cabin. As we're going down, I'll just show you some of the backs. You can see the mess. This is all from, we're in August now, so the flood was in February. And then we had COVID as well, that's worth mentioning. So, you know, people that were insured, like this house, Luke's house was insured, but, you know, they couldn't get the builders in because of the social distancing and everything else. That house there is the only house with like a ginnel or an entry, northern, so yeah, you have to excuse it. So the water came up the back of there like and flooded all the back. So what we've done is Jeff and Stuart there, we're building these flood walls, which I'll show you in a minute, down at the other house. This is Jude's back garden. She lives next door to the retreat. Look at it, it's like Butlins. And that's Steve's. So we know each other. Anyway, Jude's lived down here. I think she's one of the longest residents on the street. She's fab, and her husband Paul. And we are the greatest of friends. And she's so supportive of the work that we do with the retreat. Which, if you've got good neighbours, you've got everything. I've got 29 good neighbours. How lucky am I? Anyway, I'm hoping I can get a quick word with Jude after I've shown you the cabin. So this is it. As you can see, Raven's Retreat. Never give up on your dreams. When I was a kid, I lived in the north of England. That's another story. But my dad used to call me Gunner because I was always going to do this and always going to do that. But I was always going to live in Wales. I'm here. So this is the cabin. Do you know what? Jeff tries to wind me up calling it a shed. I don't know if you can hear Jude singing over the fence. It's things like that, isn't it, you miss? So this is the inside of the cabin. I wish I had sort of feeling vision. Is that even a word? Probably not. Anyway, this is it. Treatment bed. We've got a little fridge over there, little kitchen area, crafting area because I make crystal jewellery. I'll give you an idea. This is the treatment bed. So I make crystals. I'll show you some. So this is shungite and labradorite, and you know, I do what I can to fund the work that I do. So treatment bed, counselling corner over there, tarot cards, you name it, we do it. This is Idris the dragon. A friend of mine has an absolutely amazing crystal shop in the centre called Aura. Find her on Facebook. And he's the guardian of the cabin. So yeah, it's quite big, as you can see. Yeah, I suppose it is a shed. It's a shed with a difference. And it's a shed that makes a difference. So, cancer patients, end of life, mental health, veterans, this is where you'll find me. And it makes a difference. The retreat makes a difference. The cottage makes a difference. And someone said to me the other day, a good friend of mine actually, well, do you know what, Jules? Aren't you tired of fighting? Aren't you tired of the floods? If you had a compulsory purchase, you could move the cabin. You could perhaps get a property where you could do the retreat and where you could live on site, and you could fit more people in. You see more people, and that, you know, that I'm not going to pretend that that's not an issue, because as it happens now, from when the floods start, it could be September through till the beginning of March, because the last one was in the middle of February. I cannot have vulnerable people who are perhaps on chemotherapy and things down here for a treatment or down here for a break. And we're in the middle of becoming a charity. We were a community interest company, but now we're looking at being a charity, because I'm hoping I can apply for more grants, get some more money in to do more things and to get what we do out there. So yeah, it is a real thing. But there's that piece of me that's thinking, yes, I could move it and I could probably get somewhere beautiful, but it wouldn't be here. And I'd have to get myself into debt. I'm 55. I'm doing what I'm doing free. People said I couldn't do it. How are you going to do that? How will that work? Well, do you know what? I've made crystals. People have helped me out when we had the flood. Some of my beautiful friends, and Viv, who's a really good friend of mine, Viv Lavery. Hiya, Viv. She came down to stay in Canalside. She had a cancer diagnosis herself, and she came with a partner, and she also came with her friend, whose best friend, Becky, had cancer, secondary cancer, and she was in a back brace, and she came down last June, and the four of them stayed. And I'll never forget the day that little car pulled up outside and Becky got out. Obviously Viv and Julie and Sharon and I were friends, but I hadn't met Becky before. Becky was from Liverpool, and she was a young woman, 30 odd, two little girls, and she had cancer and it had gone into her spine, so she was wearing this this back brace for fear of her spine crumbling. And she got out of the car, quiet, and by the end of the week, she'd spent time on the canal. She'd sat out the back in the sun. She'd had some Reiki treatments and reflexology, and we talked about things that she wanted to do. And she said, I want to climb a mountain. Now, she's got cancer, she's in a back brace, but, you know, we didn't say, well, you can't do that, don't be silly, or that's a bit dangerous, or anything else. We said, right, okay. So one day we took her down to the Mumbles, which, if you're familiar with Swansea, it's at the other side of Swansea Bay. It's absolutely beautiful. They've got a pier and they've got a lighthouse. And that lighthouse stands on quite a big hill, but you know, it could have been a mountain, couldn't it? And we sat out the back, and Becky said, I want to climb up there. She looked so pretty, wind blowing her hair. And we sat chatting, and I said, well, go on then. And she said, what, on my own? You want me to go up there on your own? I said, well, I'll come with you if you want. But that's the thing, isn't it? You know, when you're unwell, people start to make so much of a fuss and you forget who you are. So I said, do you want me to come, or do you want to go on your own? No, she said, I'll go on my own. And off she went, and she set off. And I'll have to put a picture on of Mumbles Lighthouse. And I sat on the steps and watched her. And she slowly but surely, with other people that were climbing up there that day too, because the tide was out, she climbed up to the top. And she stood at the top of that little mountain outside the lighthouse. You know, and that was quite a way off from where I was sitting. And she stood at the top there, and she raised both her arms to wave, huge, and you could see the smile on her face. And she waved across at me. And I'll never forget that. You know, when you sort of take a photograph in your own head, sort of like a camera shutter. And I can see her now, wind in her hair, smiling. She'd accomplished something. And she came back down, and she was so happy. I can't believe I did that. It was wonderful. On the fresh air, I felt so alive. She said. Why am I telling you this? Because that's just one story of one person that we've made a difference to their life. And that night we came back and we sat at the back of the cottage where I've just taken you, where the swing is. And we've got a fire pit, and we lit a fire, and we sat down the back, and we had a few glasses of red wine, and we talked and we laughed. And cancer wasn't mentioned. We were just, 5 girls and my hubby sat having a drink and a laugh, and you know that feeling when you're sitting with good friends and that laughter is genuine. They are the things that, they are the memories to keep. So, at the end of that week, they packed up the car, Viv and Julie, Sharon and Becky. And she asked me if I'd be her sole midwife and if we could keep in contact over the phone and to plan the things that she wanted to plan. Of course, I said yes. And I felt like I'd known Becky forever. She was a psychiatric nurse. And a couple of weeks later, she messaged me to say she knew it was inevitable that she would lose her hair, but now was the time, because she was going to shave it off and she was going to raise money for us and for another charity that was dear to her heart. So she filmed herself. Her daughter was there, smiling that big smile that she smiled when she was standing on top of that mountain. And she raised £165 for us. And that was just amazing because, we were still doing things, picking up the pieces of Storm. That was after Storm Callum. And then, in February the following year, we've got Storm Dennis. That was absolutely horrendous. And Viv, who came down with Becky and Julie and Sharon, she rang me on the morning after the flood. She'd seen it on the TV and she'd seen my photographs on and Facebook, and she was absolutely sobbing. I love Viv. She's such a strong person. She's one of my absolute favourite human beings. We've been friends for such a long time. And she was devastated because of this little cottage that had made a difference to her. And also because she's a genuine friend that knows just how much work Jeff has put into the cottage. He hates me saying it, but he's nearly 60. He looks bloody amazing, I know. But I don't want him to have to keep doing this. I don't want him killing himself because the powers that be won't help us. So Viv and then another friend of ours, Julie Sanderson's husband Keith, they set up GoFundMe pages, and they raised money to help us to buy materials to fix the cottages again. So, as I said, I'm going to do a documentary because I've just told you a little bit about the streets, and I've told you a little bit about myself and why it's important to me. A little bit about Vicky and Di and baby Di and Evan, and about Darren. I have to laugh when I say Darren because, I know if he'd have been here when all this had been going on, he'd have been at the helm, shouting about it and making a difference. But you know what, Darren, you're not here. We're going to shout about it for you. So I suppose for now, that's it from the cabin, from me, from Mavis McFanway Jones. And I hope if you find this story interesting or you're on our side, please share it. I'm going to upload it to Facebook, to Facebook, and I'm also going to put it on YouTube because I think that's the way to get things seen and maybe the way to get things done. I'll keep you updated. Vicky and I will be starting a documentary style film about all the different families. I'm going to get their stories, and I think I'll call it Canalside, a story from behind each door. So thank you for listening, for watching, and thank you to all those people that have supported us, and to those that haven't and don't support us in the agencies and the powers that be. Know that we are tribe, we are warriors, and we're not giving up without a fight.